Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Podcast, the podcast with four different flavors coming from four different gamers. I am your host, Nick Irwin, and I want to welcome my co hosts, Shane Eisterhold, Patrick Smith, and Russell Rowe. Hey, Patrick, where can they find us?
Well, the first place you should check out is our website at ittastes.different.com. This is the place where you can subscribe to all of our streams and connect to all of our social media sites. You can also find us on Facebook at It Tastes Different. We're also on Instagram at It Tastes Different PC. And then last but not least is Twitter, where you can find us at It Tastes Diff.
What's on the menu today? We break out the all foods meat delight and wash it down with some spunky monkey with Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 is an open-world action adventure role-playing video game developed and published by CD Projekt Red and was released on December 10th, 2020. It came out for pretty much everything: Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Google Stadia, PlayStation 5, and the Series X and S. It is the newest game from CD Projekt Red. They're developers of the Witcher series. And yeah, this game, has gone through a lot of, being pushed back a lot and delayed a bunch of times, but it finally came out on December 10th. We all got to enjoy the greatness that is this game. So, but to break that down, let's all go to the rest of the guys and see what they thought of Cyberpunk 2077. And you know what, Shane? I'll send it to you first. What do you think of this game?
Don't buy it. It was just not ready to be released at all. They've done a lot of patchwork since its release, but I still wouldn't buy it for a little while yet until they fix more. It was released as a broken game. I couldn't finish it. It was just too broke. Too many issues. Heads floating around on the screen. Rubik's cubes everywhere. Sex toys just all over the place. Sorry, Nick. It's not a bad thing. I know. But the game is just not meant to be. It was not meant to be released. They should have. They should have just, manned up, held off another 3 months if they needed 3 months. It's broke. I mean, what works when it's working is fun. It really is fun. But there wasn't much. I quit playing it after the first week and a half because the game was so broke. Couldn't do it. I can push through if there's enough interesting stuff, and this thing has a lot of interesting to it. But it's just broken. CD Projekt Red should be ashamed of themselves for releasing this game, for defrauding customers, in my opinion. They held off the console review copies until release. They wouldn't allow anybody to show console gameplay for the PS4, Xbox One until after release, which was, in my opinion, criminal. It's fraud. I mean, they defrauded people. The game has so much promise and everything, and so many things. I know a couple of you all finished the game, fought through after they made some patches that made the game a lot more playable. And I'm interested to hear your overall thoughts, but I won't go back for a while until I know there's a lot of crap fixed. And CD Projekt Red really makes up for the actions that they've done with this game. I know, I believe, Rush, you feel the same way I do, I think, about part of that. So why don't we go to you?
Well, I've been actually thinking a lot about how I was going to approach this, and so this is, I think, the way I want to do it. Number one, I remember when the game was talked about being released, and then I think we sat on board game nights a couple of nights, and this game would come up, and the excitement along with it, and I was feeling that too a little bit. I was like, oh, this sounds like a great storyline. It sounds really cool. I'm ready for it. Let's do this. I'm not going to keep reiterating the broken parts of the game. I'm going to go on what, let's say the game came out perfectly for me. That's what I'm going to try to do this in my review here. The storyline, it has a wonderful story. Cybernetics, cyber humans, just all that is really cool. It's amazing. The problem is that it's just a little bit too much over the top for the dystopia factor for me. I think I've come to a realization in my life. I believe I might be becoming the get off my lawn, old man. I hate to say it. It's just starting to become a part of me. I don't mind cursing. I don't mind sexual innuendos. I don't mind all those things, but it's just within the first 45 minutes to an hour of the game, I was just like, okay, that's enough. I get the point. This is sex is a credit. Sex is a monetary value, and just about everybody and anything uses it to get whatever they want. And then there was that little bit of the coolness in it, the cybernetic portion of it. The game is really a run-of-the-mill first-person RPG. It's really not any different than anything we've ever seen before. There's talents, there's this, there's that. It's pretty basic. There's nothing extra about it. So I was kind of leaning on for the story. Now I'm sure the story gets better for some people that aren't get off my lawn type of guys like myself, but that's really where I stand right now. I don't know if I'll even go back to this game. I am going to be honest. Listeners, please don't shoot me, but I barely got through the first chapter, and I was done. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on. I may add a little bit later on, but most of this is going to probably be the Nick and Pat show today. So let's go to Nick and see what Nick has to say.
For me, this game, yeah, it does have a lot of bugs. They did release some patches that have ironed out some of the bugs. I don't see them as frequently as I did when the game first came out, so that's a good thing. They're less and less now than they were. Well, they're less now than they were, I should say. There's still plenty of bugs and still plenty of hiccups and various things like that go on in the game. So don't get me wrong there. It's not bug free by any means. Like what Russ was saying, the sex and drugs and all that stuff, yes, it is a currency in the game, and yes, this dystopian future, that's pretty much, that stuff is kind of put upon a pedestal in the city of Night City. But that stuff doesn't really bother me. It is kind of in your face, and some of it's really funny, but that type of stuff doesn't really bother me much. I don't really care either this way or that about it. As far as the story goes, the main plot, I should say, the main story itself is okay, in my opinion. It's all right. It's really the side stuff that's exciting in this game. That's the good material. The main story is just okay, whereas the side missions and the side quests and the various people you meet and interact with, that's really the meat and potatoes for this game. Yeah, overall, I really enjoy it. I really like it. I probably play it every night, for hours on end, just doing the side quests and various things like that. I love the cyberpunkish stuff. It's whatever. I've never been a huge fan of that type of material. Even before Cyberpunk 2077, just that dystopian future like that. I could really care this or that way about it, but I do like the skill tree and kind of how you build your character and the cybernetics that you can put on there and the different stuff you can find and the different types of guns you can get. The different, guns have stats. Things you can pick up to apply to your guns and to your cybernetics have stats, and different levels of epics or legendaries or uncommons, commons. There's a crafting system and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things to do and a lot of things to find and a lot of things to equip and kind of change your character out with. Even clothing and everything like that all has its stats, and it can be upgraded and you can apply mods to it and various things like that. So there's a lot to find. There's a lot to do. The city is full of activities to do. There's something pretty much on every corner. Almost to the point where it's a little much. As you're driving through town, you'll get like messages on your phone and phone calls out the yin yang. It feels like no matter where I go, I'm like, geez, I've never been so popular. But other than that, I really enjoy the game. I think it's fun. I hope they get the bug fixes and stuff. I'm sure they will over time get them worked out and out of the way, because I think they have a really good foundation, I should say, as a game that could really, throughout the years, once they get everything fixed and do add-ons and DLC and various things like that, they could really create a game that could spin-off like The Witcher 3 did with, their DLC expansions, and just how long that game has been going since it released, whenever The Witcher 3 released, like years ago. So I think this could also follow that same structure once they get everything worked out. But Patrick, what did you think of Cyberpunk 2077?
So I will preface this by saying that I played the pen and paper tabletop game back in the day for this. The original Cyberpunk that was set in like the year 2013 or whatever back in the 80s. So, I had a little bit of a nostalgia feel for this because it was a game that I played in pen and paper. And now it's moved on to digital, which is, I don't play a whole lot of pen and paper tabletop role-playing games anymore, just because, I don't have those type of friends, and, there's not enough time to run campaigns upon campaigns anymore in my life. So I had high hopes for this game, and I will say that I have been the same as Nick. I've been playing it pretty much every night since it came out. And the only reason I haven't beat it is because the game is full of bugs. And I'm not a storyline rusher, so I didn't rush the storyline. I do all the side stuff and all that. And I will agree with Nick that the map borderlines on too much. It doesn't have you collecting a whole lot of useless crap, which I kind of commend them for, but there is a lot of just crap happening on the map. There's police bulletins that you need to go break up fights and go break up this or go save somebody or go do this or that. Not to mention all of they have gigs that you could get from the handlers in the areas and stuff like that. I mean, there is so much stuff. The beginning map, I was a little overwhelmed when I saw the starting area, and then when it zooms out past the starting area, I was like, holy crap. Where am I going to manage to start in this crap? So it's a lot. And the bugs are not helpful. I mean, I oftentimes, if I play for a 2 to 4 hour stint, I'm having to save the game, shut the game down, and restart about once every hour, 45 minutes to an hour, because something happens. Like I ran into issues where my scan ability stops highlighting lootable items, or I can no longer loot things. So stuff like that keeps happening to where I have to stop what I'm doing, and sometimes I get frustrated and just stop. I stop playing, so I'm like, I am tired. I reloaded this thing 2 or 3 times, and I'm just done. I will say that I think a lot of it is probably the engine. They did a real poor choice of using the Red Engine for this. I mean, I know it's their engine, but I don't feel it was right for this type of game. There's too much for it to do. It's supposed to be a living, breathing world, and I often feel that it's just dumb, non-existent AI, because I don't know how much you guys have played, but every time you get in a car with an NPC and you're riding along, weird stuff always happens. Like, just weird things happen when you're driving. Like cars appear out of nowhere in front of the car. Your car hits them, sideswipes them. I don't think
I've seen cars drop from the sky.
Yeah, cars drop from the sky. Your car runs people over. And just like nothing ever happened. I mean, it's like, and the physics is just garbage. Like if you're in a big vehicle and it runs a person over, I swear to God, it feels like you ran over a car. It's like, it's like really bad. I mean, and then, but then like you run into stupid mechanics. Like if you get hit by a car, it's the same animation, no matter if the car's driving super fast or super slow, you get bumped. Like you just bumped and you fell on your butt and you got up. It is so stupid. And I believe it's the engine's fault. Because I don't think there's much more they're going to be able to tweak out of this engine. When you're driving along, cars will appear and disappear out of nowhere. People appear and disappear out of nowhere. And I don't think any car can drive straight. And what I mean by that is when you're driving like long distances on like the super highways or whatever, you'll notice that no car tracks straight. Like all the NPC cars will like jerk left and right. And it's like, every one of them. It's not like you run into like some drunk driver or something and they're driving like it's like every car. And then when you're riding with somebody, they do the same thing. It's like their track is off, or they recorded somebody in development driving the car, and the car gets kind of squirrely, so they kept that in the recording. I mean, I like the game, but it is horribly bad with bugs right now, and it's taking everything I can to get to the point that I am. And I've gotten to the point where I've run out of time to play the game. Well, that means we're off to a new game to play, and I need to play that one. I have probably put 60 some odd hours into this game, and I'm level 28. and I barely have touched the main storyline because of all the side stuff. I've completed three. I've completed three of the main side characters' storylines already. And it's just taken too much time. The game is full of funny stuff. There's all kinds of funny advertisements. A lot of it is crude humor, but we're a bunch of 12-year-olds, so it's crude humor is hilarious for most of us.
Well, 12-year-olds and a 68.
Right. So crude humor is right up the alley, but it's I don't know. I really wish they would have postponed the game now, having seen it and played it, because I'm pretty disappointed in it. I'm pretty disappointed in CD Projekt Red, to be honest. I remember playing Witcher 3 shortly after it came out, and I don't think it was that bad. I'm trying to think of any major issues I ran into, but I can remember playing for hours on end without seeing bugs or major issues. This game has major breaking issues. Cars will just appear out of nowhere on top of your car, or I've been plenty of times where you'll call, I got a motorcycle that I'm pretty much riding around with now. I'll call the motorcycle and it'll appear, and the next thing you know, there's a car on top of it, and you're like, okay, can't get to my motorcycle. Looting in this game, Nick, Shane, Russ, have you guys read this? Looting in this game is horrible. The targeting of loot is garbage. I'm hovering over someone, I can't pick it up, and I'm like, it's purple, I want it, pick it up, and it's no. And I just have to leave it on the ground because it won't target it to pick it up.
Yeah, you dang near gotta squat over it to pick the damn things up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was rough. And just to go on, I just have a question for you, Pat, and you continue, please. But is it a pathing issue? Because when I did the Street Kid, and one of the very first kind of scenes once you kind of start really playing the game is you go into a parking garage, and we go into this parking garage and you're riding with the guy, and the guy literally hit every car in the parking garage to drop you off to get you to go in. You had to go into this meeting, I'm trying to understand, is it a pathing issue or what?
I think it's a mixture of that and the AI of the game. They didn't properly program avoidance in the game. Cars don't avoid other cars, people don't avoid cars. It's just the avoidance wasn't programmed in the AI of the game, and I think like I said, I think it's the engine. I'm not sure the engine, the Red Engine 4 is designed to handle something like this. It's just, you have to think of a game the only game that I can think of that's even close to this is the why am I drawing a blank? Rockstar's game, Grand Theft Auto. It's the same thing. Grand Theft Auto runs smooth. Cars avoid people, people avoid cars. Cars aren't crashing into each other. Cars drive straight. Yep. It's one of those things where it's just rush development from management on the staff, and then poorly optimized game engine. And stuff like that. I don't care what the people who are playing on PC are saying, because they may not consider it a bug, but cars just driving not straight, running into everything, and his brother is not considered a bug to them, and it's not a feature in my opinion. That's not something that. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a mission right in the beginning where you go to meet Jackie outside of your apartment. He's sitting at a food stand out next to the road. We were sitting there at the food stand. Car plowed right through the food stand while we were eating. And I'm just and so Jackie's eating from a bowl that's floating in midair. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Car plows through this thing, and we're safe. We're sitting in just this empty carcass of a destroyed building, Yeah,
and the problem is what you're saying about Grand Theft Auto is all this stuff has been done by other developers for years with this types of games, and they should not be having these problems. They just shouldn't. It's not like it's a new thing they've been, working on. It's never been done before. Every open world game has these situations that don't happen in their games. Even games from freaking original Xbox didn't have.
I think CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 2077. They took off a huge chunk. They bit off a massive chunk, because what they're trying to do in this game is pretty intuitive to some extent. There's a lot of stuff they're going. I will admit that the Night City is way more busy and way more compact than Grand Theft Auto, so there's a lot more going on in a smaller area. but they've got to fix the stuff that's going on. I mean, it's just the dialogue gets drowned out sometimes because just random stupid stuff will happen. Like, I don't know how many times I'm riding in a car with an NPC having a conversation, and it goes like they're talking over a radio, or they're talking over like they're halfway across the world. I'm like, are you kidding me? The stuff this stuff breaks immersion in the game and makes it really hard for me to want to continue to play the game. I will say when the game works, the game is gorgeous. Cars look cool. The city looks cool. You know, the NPC characters look cool, but a lot of times the NPCs are broke. When you're having a conversation with them, lips aren't moving. They're not looking at you, or their heads spin around, you know. It's stupid stuff, and you're just like, what's going on? How could they have played through this and not seen these issues and said, we need more time, guys. This is bad.
Because they were forced to push it out.
Yeah, I think management team forced them to push it out. Like I said, I think it has great potential still. It almost makes me want to stop playing, though, because I want to see the product when it's finished. Because as much as I'm struggling with it right now to finish it, I don't want to come back to it when it's fixed. That's the problem. I'm not going to want to come back because I remember the pains and the struggles that I had with this game.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to come back to it at some point, but the game is just... I don't know if it's the game is because the game is so busted, or if it's because I'm so upset with the way CD Projekt Red handled this. You know, whoever's fault it was to push this turd out that's broken, you know, it's disgusting. And the way they basically tried to hide it from the community, and then they push it out, and then they're apologizing after everybody has bought it, after, 13 million copies. I mean, that's ridiculous. But they released something that was just wrong to release, plain and simple. I can't remember the last time a game came out this bad.
It's pretty bad. I mean, this is probably pretty close to the outcry that No Man's Sky had, I would say. Probably a little bit worse, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good example. Yeah.
The game has some cool concepts, like the whole being a net runner type thing is kind of cool, where you just hack things and kill people from afar and introduce viruses and gain money this way and that way. Is kind of cool. One of the aspects of this game that really gets on my nerves that is not playable is this: you cannot stealth in this game. There is stealth built into the game, but it's impossible to run any mission in stealth. It is freaking impossible. I don't know what you guys thought, Nick. Rust, what do you guys think of? Like, I tried to run missions as stealth because I'm like, I just want to kill these guys, dump their bodies in the dumpster, or dump them in a box, and run around and kind of do things quietly. But it's impossible to do anything in stealth in this game outside of maybe one or two people. That's it. And then everybody's on you like freaking white on rice, you know?
I have stealthed a couple of missions. I did do, I think, at least two where I successfully 100% stealth the entire thing. Killing people, dumping them in bodies and stuff. So it does work in a sense, not very well though, and I would agree with you. It's almost impossible to stealth. You can do it, but it's almost impossible because like once you get sighted, the best thing to have is the mod that slows down time once you get sighted, because then you can get out of their view. And I think that's the best thing if you're going to stealth, because if you don't have that, as soon as you get sighted, you're pretty much going to be just mowing them down. So I find that stealth, while it tries to be a part of the game, I agree, is not. I mean, that you're going to probably take most missions just running, gunning, because, I mean, especially like for me at this point in the game, I have some like really powerful weapons, and I have a really powerful sniper rifle, and I can pretty much almost in pretty much most areas, I'd say 90% of the areas I go to, I can pretty much one-shot everybody. And then the ones I can't one-shot, it's usually two shots with a sniper rifle and they're dead. So most of the time, I'd just rather take it running gun. So yeah, right. I didn't have a hard time stealthing. Stealthing is not a great part of the game, I should say.
Yeah, because the biggest problem I have with stealthing is it's like, okay, you get spotted, you kill the guy who spots you, it doesn't end. Like, if you so let's say that you get spotted and you kill the guy as soon as he spots you. It doesn't matter. He goes full eye red, sees you, you spotted him, you shot him. Mm-hmm. The zone doesn't reset. You dispose the body, you're still in a high-risk area. So as soon as they catch an eye glimpse of you, and I'm not talking like before you get spotted the first time in the zone, it's kind of like any other stealth game where they build up, like they see you, it's going from like white to yellow to red, and then they spotted you. But as soon as you have that one incident where somebody spots you, the whole place is on high alert the entire time. Nothing happens. You can't get past that. And what that means is, as soon as they even catch a glimmer out of the corner of your eye, they're on you. It's like blink. Oh, we see him, and they start running towards you. It's so stupid. It's like there's no running and hiding and waiting for things to die down and then going back in. It doesn't work that way. There is no mechanic like that in the game. It's pretty much you go in, you try to stealth through and get the stuff done you can, because as a net runner, I would go in and I would hack the systems and bring the cameras down and bring the turrets down and inject virus into their environments so that they take more damage, take less RAM to do cyber attacks on them and stuff like that. It would just be like, okay, and at a certain point, I would get spotted by one guy, I would take him out real quick, and then next thing I know, there's everybody and their brothers running up the stairs. So then I'm like, all right, I'm throwing a contagion out there and just letting it spread, and while I'm shooting and taking them out, it's pretty dumb to the point to where even the AI is pretty stupid. Like, I ran into this a couple of times on a multi-level, you call them dungeons, whatever you want, multi-level building. If there's people on the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor, and you attack somebody on the second floor, the first floor and the third floor will all converge at the bottom or top of the stairs. They will not come down the stairs after you. So it's like shooting fish in a barrel when you get to the stairs. You're like, oh, look, there's 10 guys sitting at the top of the stairs. Yeah. Let me blow them all up and just shoot them in the face, because they're just going to stand there and pick pot shots at me. It's a very busted game right now, and I am highly disappointed. I wanted to... And as you see, I'm still playing through the bugs, but it's just, I don't know. I've followed through the world so many times. I've gotten stuck on so many things to where I've had to reload saves. I miss conversations because they're bugged to where when you're trying to talk to them, another dialogue thing pops up asking you to push X or B, and if you push B on the control console, it skips the conversation, and you're just like, I want to strangle these developers for this, stupid stuff like that. Like, skipping a conversation should be like holding B, not not hitting the button, because it's so easy to do that. And then, Nick, did you guys do the mission with Evelyn where you brought her back to Judy's apartment?
Yeah.
Did you have the bug to where Evelyn's conversation was up the entire time you were in the apartment?
No.
So when I went into her apartment, I was so pissed off at this. As soon as I went in her apartment and she's in the bed in the room, and you go in and you talk to her and you put your hand on her and then the conversation goes, that unhighlighted conversation, like I'd done all of the conversations in the stack, but there's no leave conversation in this game. Stupidest idea ever. As soon as I would walk into the room where Judy was at in her computer, I still had the conversation dialogue up. The whole time I'm trying to talk to Johnny, the conversation dialogue is up. I went into the brain dance, and the stupid conversation was still up. I was so pissed off that I quit for the night after that. Came back, reloaded my save, still there. Just got through it. It was pissing me off. But this game, who designs an RPG to where you can't leave the conversation?
Apparently one person.
Cyberpunk 2077. No, what I mean is any conversation in the game. This is not a bug. This is part of the game. If you're talking to somebody and they have continuous dialogue, you can't just say, I'm done talking to them, and the conversation goes, wait, don't walk away from them. So if you're trying to loot stuff around them, their conversation is still popped up.
That's one thing. I do.
There's no like, I'm done talking.
Yeah, it's one thing I hate, because I've skipped a lot of conversation because of that. Like, while they're talking, I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and grab this real quick. And I'm like, it's down below here, so I'm going to hit B to crouch. And it's like, skips ahead. And I'm like, no, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to crouch and grab this item while they're talking. I didn't want it to skip my conversation. Right. So, yeah, I would agree. I mean, I wish the skip conversation was a holding down B or something like that. Because, people are going to do that. They're going to loot the area that they're in while the person's talking, because they don't want to stand there and just look at an NPC talk the entire time.
I've gotten in combat many a times while I'm in a conversation, like we'll be walking or something, I'll get in a conversation with somebody, and I go to try to duck behind a barrier, and guess what? Duck is B, also skip conversation. I'm like, I missed what she said. What was I supposed to, But more than that, what I mean by more than that is like so let's take any RPG, any game. Let's just take my favorite, like any of the BioWare games. let's take those games. When you're having a conversation with an NPC, there's a goodbye. It's like, I'm done with this conversation, goodbye. And the conversation closes out. Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't have that. So if you have an NPC that has a bunch of like blue, the non continuation. So, like say, hey, how are you doing? Hey, that's cool. Just having a random general conversation with them. The conversation stays up until you get out of the range of that NPC instead of just saying goodbye and the conversation dialogue closing out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think Skyrim or Elder Scrolls has that same thing.
Yeah.
It acts like in conversation or something like that.
Right. Most of the games have that, but Cyberpunk doesn't. The conversation is just like, you're just like, okay, I have no other dialogue to discuss with this person, but I can't close the dialogue window out with them. So the only thing I can do is walk away, and that is the whole game. Very rarely is there like an end dialogue conversation piece. So that needs to be fixed. I know it's not a bug; it's an intended way, but that is stupid. Stupid, poor design right there, because you're locked in conversation while you're trying to loot, and talk and loot is the same button. To make the conversation go to pick a conversation item and to loot is X. So it's like, I didn't mean to click that dialogue. I was just trying to loot that, that data pad right behind you or something,
Well, the problem is, it's, every complaint or glitch you guys have brought up that another one of us haven't seen, no, we can't even doubt it because the game is that bad. I mean, it's like, when I was telling you guys about the NPC character's head that just kind of floated by me, nobody was surprised.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's plenty of NPCs like walking around, like they got their arm around somebody, but there's nobody there, and they're just walking, and you're just like, what? Or there's plenty of NPCs doing the T-bug, where they're just got no pants on, and their arms are outstretched, and riding a motorcycle that way, or you look in the mirror and you're completely bald because you're wearing a hat or something. It's.
I drove around town with a cop in my hood. He was just chilling. He wasn't dead. He was just chilling.
Yep. The game is pretty bad right now. So I would probably, if anybody hasn't bought it yet, I would avoid it. I mean, it's bad enough that an unprecedented event happened. PlayStation removed it from the store. That is unprecedented. And
Microsoft put a warning.
Yeah, Microsoft put a warning on it. Basically, the game feels like alpha. It feels like
sure.
Alpha.
I mean, it probably would have been better for them to put it out in early access, right? I mean, especially if they wanted it out early. I bet they could have gotten a lot of money. The developers or the management or whoever said, "Hey, let's throw it out there early." If they would have put it in early access, I think it would have been, and that wasn't the way it was intended. But they could do some, I don't know, PR mumbo gumbo be able to put it out there as, this is early access.
Testing. Yeah.
Right.
I think they could have done that too. If they didn't want to push the game, they should have just said, hey guys, we don't really want to push the game, but it's not done. We've got a tremendous amount of bugs, but if you want to play early, we'll release it in early access. Just be mindful that we're still working out the bugs, and we'll use your feedback to help fix these things. But instead, they were just like, we're gold, game's done, push it out the door, everybody gets great. Until you start hearing all these horror stories from, I guess we're super lucky in a sense that we're not playing this on a PS4 or an Xbox One. True. I mean, I that's the almost fortunate part I can think of, because some of the video I've seen from that is just, that's not playable at all. It looks bad. It's just garbage. And I don't get that one. The game's been in design for how many years now? I can't remember what year they started development.
8.
But this is all last-gen gaming time. How could they not have known there was these issues? I mean, I'm sure they knew. They just didn't, obviously, because they hid the console evaluation from everybody else. So that's a little bit shady. Unfortunately, I think this has kind of hurt the community's trust in them a little bit. I know it's hurt their investor trust because their stock has been tanking since the game came out. I mean, they were like 20-something points loss the first week the game came out on their stock. So, right. I don't know how they're going to get the community back behind them again.
Yeah, and it's sad because they built up a lot of trust with how they handled the Witcher series. I mean, they weren't perfect, but they weren't busted. I mean, they had issues, but they weren't busted like this.
Right.
And they made it better. They did great DLC and so on and so forth. And they really built a reputation of trust and, confidence. And They in one shot they pissed it away.
Right. It's pretty bad. And obviously the internet, the game's been out for 12 days now, and it's still trending top everywhere else about how bad this game is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really surprising. But like I said, I had high hopes for the game. They were dashed pretty heavily when I started playing the game, but as you all have heard, I'm still playing it because the premise behind it, I still love the premise, the idea behind it. I want to see what happens. I ran into some really awesome storylines. I played some pretty awesome levels and stuff like that. I mean, the game has major potential, and I like the sci-fi cyberpunkish stuff. The being able to bolt on bolt-ons to your body, pretty much. I mean, if we were in that, I just think of stuff like Ghost in the Shell and stuff like that. I mean, I love that type of stuff. So, and this is just more reminiscent of that. You get ocular replacements, you get muscular replacements, all kinds of stuff. Just biomechanical replacement, and it leads a lot of it pulls a lot from the tabletop RPG. I mean, there's the cyber psychosis theme still going on in the game, and net running, and all this. And Cyberpunk, the tabletop game was all about style and attitude, and stuff like that, and taking the game to the edge. I mean, that was what it was all about, back in the day when we were playing. It was just being most outlandish and stuff like that, the game is doing that. It's just it's busted. I don't know how long it's going to take to fix that. Also, one of the things I want to talk to you guys about that I did not realize until the game came out, but did you realize that there was not, I thought when I read it that we were getting the Series X version of the game, but they did not put out a Series X version of the game.
No, I knew that from the beginning. They've already said that when they have a upgraded version for Series X, that was going to be a free upgrade. But what we got at the beginning was just for consoles. But the great thing is, though, the Series X runs the game so much better. It prevents a lot of the problems that regular Xbox and PS4 players are having with a lot of the loading issues and screen issues and everything. But I thought there was some sort of in the last patch or two that there was something they did for it to run a little better on the newer systems. I thought.
I mean, they're trying to.
I'd like to beg the question of this, though.
I was probably going down the same path I was about to go.
I mean, if they started the game in the previous generation,
yes,
and everything was built like that, I mean, it's so odd that they're having so many problems on the 4 and the Xbox One, considering that the game should play easier, not necessarily easier, but should have been built for those, because it wasn't released on the Series X as a upgraded game. It doesn't make any sense to me. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Pat, if I stole your thunder there.
The game was designed, for PC, and they were supposed to, bring it down towards to the consoles at that time. But but you're right, though. It still doesn't make a damn bit of sense. They knew what they had to do then, and this has been, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever they announced it.
The consulting, like the guy who actually started the tabletop game is the one they started consulting with back in 2012. Mike Pondsmith. He's the one that developed the game, the actual tabletop game. So 2012, they've been working on this since 2012. You might as well say they probably just consulted in 2012, 2013, 2014. So at least 6 or 7 years developing this game. My biggest complaint is, and this is where I'm trying to go with this, is that the game was designed to run on the old consoles and PC. It barely runs on the old consoles, and it is wrought with issues on the current gen consoles. But I don't get the whole. I don't know. I don't get the whole not releasing Series X type stuff. I mean, they knew about it. I mean, other games did it, like Valhalla did it. They released it for the old console, the new console. Heck, Call of Duty did it. Everybody did it. I don't know what CD Projekt Red was thinking, because I don't get it. I'm not going to. This is a linear and when I mean linear, I mean it's a storytelling RPG. It's got a beginning and an end. The middle can change somewhat depending on the choices you made, but the end has finite number of endings, and I don't need to wait for a Series X version to play all that, and I wouldn't. So I don't get what they're thinking about going back and rehashing this for those is instead of just releasing it at the same time. But you know, it is what it is. The game is extremely rough right now, and I wish they would have postponed it. As much as I wanted to play it, and from what I've seen right now, I wish it was postponed. But maybe they can't do anything with the Red Engine 4. Maybe the Red Engine 4 is at its, maybe it just can't handle what they're throwing at it because, it's an in-house designed game engine. It's not performing very well. I have lots of stupid minor things that drive me nuts about the game.
I think it would have been much easier had we been angry for waiting for a great game than being force-fed or paid for a hurried game early. I think because this, in the end, this is going to ruin. I mean, it's like a meal. Like if you're at a restaurant and you sit down and you order your meal and it's something that should take 3 hours to make and you get it in 15 minutes, you're like, wait, this is not what I ordered. But then when you wait that whatever time for that meal and you get it, like, oh my God, it's so good because you had to wait for it. I think for the player base, I think all of us may agree that would have been much better.
There's definitely, in my opinion, no doubt about that. It's the anticipation, has been pretty heavy on this game. And I mean, we've all been, ooh, can't wait. Oh, crap, another delay. Ooh, can't wait. Oh, crap, another delay. Now it's, ooh, oh, crap, it's out, and it's garbage. It's a piece of broken garbage.
Right.
I agree with you, Russ. You should have called them up and said, hey, what you doing?
Well, and if their intent was to make a PC game and eventually port it over to consoles, then by all means, that's what they should have done. Because from what I've seen and what I've heard from my PC buddies is this game is immensely, and I mean immensely better on the PC. Like on consoles, this game is hovering around like what you would consider the 50% mark, a 5 out of 10, a 4 out of 10, or a 40 out of 100 or 50 out of 100. But on PC, it's like trending like crazy. Like it's in the 90s, I thought, when I saw it last time on Metacritic. So it's down to 80s on the PC now. But like Game Informer gave it a 9 out of 10 on PC. Everybody that's rating it on the PC is giving it like high marks. Yeah. But everybody who's rating it on the consoles is giving it like 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, something, stuff like that. And it's, in my opinion, it's CD Projekt Red did this to themselves by marketing it as a console game to console gamers when their intention was being withheld or being hidden from everybody. If their intention wasn't to make a console game, then by all means, don't make it a console game, make it a PC game, and port it over eventually when you can get all the console stuff, or make it it's going to be PC for a year and then we'll port it over to console in 2021 or 2022, and at that point all the PS4 and Xbox One should be out of the market and you can just code it to the Series X and the PlayStation 5. But they didn't. They were being in my eyes, they were being deceitful and not showing off console play and hiding all that kind of stuff from people. And then when the game came out, it bit them, because I would like to know what the percentage of console sales are versus PC sales, just to see what the market share is of it.
I would like to see the returns, the refunds. How many have been refunded back?
Well, according to them, the number of returns and has not hurt their bottom line. They still are well above. The game's still more than paid for itself, and they're not. Now, I've heard that they got some. There's some people talking about doing some class action lawsuits or whatever, and I don't know if I would go that far with them. I mean, they're trying to do what's right. They're offering refunds, which is kind of unheard of for a digital game. Most digital games will say you can have a refund if you played less than 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever, and that's how Steam works and some of these other places work. But to just basically say, if you request a refund, we'll give it to you no matter what. So somebody could have bum rushed the game and done a refund, and they would honor it. Which, in my opinion, is them trying to do the right thing, but I'm not a firm believer in the ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So they asked for forgiveness, and it's like, well, you already ruined that relationship. You know.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It really is a very anticipated game that's been on people's minds for a few years now, and they dishonestly put it out on market, and I'm pretty disgusted with it. I agree with you. I think class action lawsuits a little bit far, but stupid greedy people just they'll do anything for a buck. Those class action lawsuits are a joke. GTA 5 with the hot coffee mod, every customer that was involved in it, I think they got like $5.48 each.
Well, here's what I think is really kind of funny is so this game is wrought with corporate mishandling of stuff, and the game is all about megacorp overextending and all this kind of crap. It's just kind of ironic when you think about the game. The premise of the game is down with the megacorps and megacorporations and all this stuff, and then this game is just getting railroaded because their parent companies and everything just basically were like forcing people to work 6 days a week, foregoing their personal life to push this game out on a crunch. And I'm not sure it helped anything. I mean, I'd hate to see what it looked like 3 months ago when it was supposed to come out the first time.
Yeah. Well, the last one was a month. I mean, I don't know what they were trying to do in a month. I mean, make the start button work. I mean, Jesus.
Right. Yeah. So I found their stock tanked 9.4% in the first few days after the game came out. That's a lot for a company's stock to tank due to game reviews.
Now let me ask this, Nick. Would you have played through the game as much as you have, knowing originally that this game was busted, not completely busted, but just so broken in so many areas? Or would you just said, hell with it and I'll wait, until they come up with, because you handle pain a lot more than we do. You enjoy it. So would you have just pushed your purchase back on it 3 months?
If I would have known before buying it?
Yeah. If you bought it the day after it released and you saw that everybody was having issues and it was glitched up, would you have waited?
So in this theory, I haven't bought it yet.
Yeah, you ain't bought it yet. And you're getting ready to buy it the day after it released. But you see everybody. Would you have waited? Because the talk about
if it was day
so
after
bad.
release, I don't know. Because at that point, we really didn't know if these were so widespread or if they were. I mean, because it was at least a few days before that information kind of came out and where things started to snowball within time. So if it was the day after, I probably would have bought it and never would have thought anything of it, But if I could look into the future and know how the game is now, like with all the issues it had, I would have said, okay, I'll wait till they get these things fixed and it gets a little bit more stable, and then I'll pick it up down the line and shoot, maybe it'll be on sale and that'll be even better, And then I'll play it.
So here's the other question, because I thought this is where Shane was going, but he wasn't. Nick, would you have bought the game if they said it was rolling out in early access and that their plan is to finish the game up within a year? So if they said, hey, you could pre-order it now and you can play in early access, but it's early access and understand that it's full of bugs, would you have bought an early access copy or would you have waited for release?
Depends on how much it was.
It's $60. It's not going to go any cheaper. It was just you get to play the game early. That's,
probably not, because I would have already bought Baldur's Gate 3 by now. If that were the case.
Well,
normally when I buy
that game's early access, that's why.
Normally when I buy early access, if they're on sale, because typically early access is right, and so I'll be like, sure, I'll do that, because normally if you buy the early access, like you might buy a game that's $30 now for early access, but once it fully releases, it goes up to $60. So now I can get a discount. Even though it's early access, I could buy it and just not play it, wait for it to come out, and I still have the full-fledged game from that. I bought it for $30 cheaper. But much like Baldur's Gate 3, and in this scenario or this hypothetical with this game, if they came out at $60 and says early access, no, I probably would have just said, like Baldur's Gate, I'm just going to wait till it releases.
Right, yeah, because I mean, think of games like Subnautica. You know, when it came out, it was barely a game, and it was $22 or something, and now it's a $60 game.
Right,
You know,
and me and you, and I know you did, and so did I. We bought it when it was early access because we got it for so cheap.
yep. And then I liked what I played in early access, but kind of forgot about it. And then when the game fully released, I came back to it, and I was like, "Oh, this game's awesome," you know. But yeah, I'm probably on the same page as you are, Nick. If I was told that this game was that bad, the problem is that we play these now for game reviews, so we have to play them when they come out to give a realistic review. Because if we were to play this game a year from now, how many people are really going to look for a game review on a game that was released over a year ago? You know, they're like, yeah, I already know what this game's about. Everybody else already talked about it. So I mean, that would be our only downfall. But if we were just playing it to be playing it like we normally do, it'd be really hard for me not to buy it because I'm telling you, I love the tabletop RPG back in the day, and I played a lot of it with my friends. This was a staple in our gaming rotation, so was Rift, and stuff like that back in the day. And you can see that's kind of a theme, a cyberpunkish technomancer type theme games. But I don't know. I mean, I would probably have still bought it, to be honest with you, because I was just that big of a fan. But I would have had more understanding of the issues if they were to come out with a scheme like that. They were saying, "Hey, just so you guys know, you can buy it now and you can play early access. It is buggy." I would have been understanding, like, okay, they forewarned us, you know. So I will admit, I didn't pre-order this game. I bought it the day it came out. I bought it, downloaded it the day it came out. You know, because I was like, I wasn't going to pre-order it. I got pre-ordering is one of those things I don't do very often anymore. There's no benefit to pre-ordering, so I don't pre-order anything usually. I just order it like the paycheck before it comes out or when it comes out usually. But I probably still would have bought it. Shane, what about you? Would you have bought it?
No, no, not at all. The I was looking through here, and the original review that first came out, the first came out review was PC. PC was, oh my God, everybody was really bragging about it. Even though they even said, it's got glitches up the wazoo. But the PC version ran so much better and so forth. Then the console versions released theirs, and it's disgusting. I mean, it was blatant, bull crap that they were hiding the console versions. No, I would have never have bought it, and I would have encouraged nobody to have bought it because it's just not right what they did, in my opinion. I think what they did is completely BS, and I don't think they should give everybody their money back. I don't, because I do believe that they are going to do their best to make it right. As far as the game developers themselves, now the big wigs, money guys, they don't give two craps as long as they get paid. I mean, that's the problem with.
Well, yeah. I mean,
these things.
Did you read the news article where it said all their big wigs were still going to get their bonus?
Oh yeah. That was those bonuses should be taken away. They should be drug out in the streets and shot along with scalpers, and the bonuses should be sent to
people working on the game
who made this game. And if there's anything left, throw it back to the customers in the way of a bonus. That bought the game. Give me $10 in in-game credit or some crap.
I do believe in refunding the game because people want their money back. Give it to them. And if they increase the game, good for them. People may come back and buy in the future, maybe on sale by the time they come back. But I think that's a choice they should give people. The game is to the point, and like I said, I'm playing on a Series X. It's still at some points unplayable. Like I have to stop. I have to save and reload my game, or save and quit out completely so many times in a play session that it gets frustrating. Like I just did the Street Racer storyline with the chick where she shoots out of the window and you get to drive the big truck around. She ran me over one time, knocked me through the world. Happened like 2 or 3 times in a row because they have no collision avoidance in the game. There's so many times I'll be talking to an NPC and they get in a car and run me over. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no collision avoidance. There's no smart AI, So, Russ, what about you? Would you have bought this game, after what Shane had said earlier, if you were given those options?
Had they prefaced it, I don't know if I'm going to answer the question exactly. If they prefaced it with the fact that they are releasing the game to help test it, to help make it better, they know it's not ready, then yeah, I probably would have. I mean, we were waiting for this game for a while. But if they said, if I didn't know, then of course I don't know. So, I mean, I'm listening to everybody and I'm going kind of back and forth on it just a little bit. But it's like, how many games have we bought that we knew weren't quite ready, but they
G.I.
got
Joe.
better pretty quickly? No, I mean, G.I. Joe was that game wasn't good from the start, and it wasn't going to get any better. I'm trying to think of something that got better that was broken. I mean, I guess you could look at Final Fantasy 14. I mean, that game was the worst game the second worst game
No
behind
Man's
this one to ever be
Sky.
released.
Yeah.
Yeah, No Man's Sky. I mean, that one won at the Game Awards. It won Best Lasting Game, or whatever it was. So
Yeah.
there's proof positive right there. But again, that was another game that I don't know that they gave you a warning that it was that busted.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was
It was
community
it was
outcry
rough.
on that game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe the community outcry on this one changes it in a month. I don't know, but you would think the game's been released for what, almost 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
The 10th,
Yeah,
right?
about two.
So 12 days. So I mean, you would think. Well, I mean, they are saying they're getting patches out. I don't know. I mean, it's such a loaded question. I don't want to buy a broken game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but just think of the point you guys just brought up, No Man's Sky. You guys realize that game came out in 2016?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's taken them this long to get to this point of making the game somewhat or pretty enjoyable. I would admit the game is currently pretty enjoyable. We played it. I mean, I would say it took them a better part of 2.5, 3 years to make the game as enjoyable as it is. There are little stumps along the way, and I don't have that much time for Cyberpunk 2077 to make their game better. I will forget about it. If it takes them 4 years to make the game better, I'm moved on to bigger and better things, hopefully, and whatever. So, I wish they could fix it, but really, right now they've kind of damaged their reputation in my eyes. I used to think of them as like a pro consumer type company, and now I'm looking at them just another one of these publishers, developers that they're just out to get money as fast as they can, and that's what they've done.
They're EA Light.
The game.
But
you were like, I think Patrick said this just a few minutes ago, though. Like, what's so unfortunate about it? What really kills us all about it? I think if we look inside ourselves and think about it for just a minute, like you look at that world, and especially after you get to the point where the world opens up, I think it's after the lunch or the breakfast meal or whatever that Patrick decided to have a car come through it. As that world starts to open up, he's right. Like even in as big as it is, even in the square blocks, in the 1 or 2 square blocks, like everything is so interactive and everything is so full. It's not like older games where you have like 1 or 2 people on the street, you have one car. It's a bustling place. So it's really unfortunate that they didn't clean that up a little bit, because that world could have been very immersive, but it's very distracting instead. So, I mean, that was a thought that came to mind, and it probably already been said, but.
Yeah, but you're definitely right. You know what? We've done nothing but pretty much bash on this game for the entire time. I think the most important thing we need to discuss, though, and I need answers to, is Angel or Sky? Who picked who?
Well, I think all of you guys picked the wrong one and reloaded it, because I picked Sky first.
Yeah.
And you have to read. That's the biggest thing about an RPG is read.
Well, what I don't like
I
about
don't want to
that scene-
read if they're talking.
What I don't like about that scene is they show the picture of Angel and Sky,
Yes.
and I'm like, okay. And then it's like they have a little bit of
It's
dialogue,
only
and
up
it's
for
like,
a
which one do you
second.
want, Angel or Sky? And they just show the text. I'm like, which one was
Angel.
which again? I'm like, well, Angel's got to be the girl, right? And I go in there, and there's a dude just sitting on the bed, and I'm like, man, no, that's
Like,
that
no,
wasn't
no,
the
no,
chick.
no, redo.
Must have been
Well,
the Sky.
that's just par for the course for all you guys who picked chicks to start with.
No, like Nick did it too. It's like, Angel's got to be the chick. Sky must be
I
short
thought they
for
were going to leave the
Skylar.
picture up, and then I could pick one. But I'm like, I couldn't remember which one was which at that point. I'm like, wait a minute, which one was which? Which
You know
one was
what
Angel?
makes
Which
it
one was
bad?
Sky?
Is I did it twice.
He picked Angel twice.
He's like, I got it
he
this
really
time.
wanted Angel. Yeah,
I
he's
got
Well,
it
that's
this
what you
time.
really wanted, Shane. That's
Yeah,
what
that's what he really
Apparently
wanted.
so. My subconscious was thinking, I need something big. But
I
was so
got a hunger,
freaking
and I need filled up.
some angel food cake.
I'll
But
tell you
yeah,
one
it
thing,
was
though, about this
it was
game.
bad.
I'll tell you one thing about this game, though. The cars drive like butter on a hot plate.
Yeah,
I mean,
garbage.
The
I'm
first thing.
The racing. You just said you did the racing, Patrick.
Yeah.
The racing part makes zero sense to me. Right? For
Did
one,
you race
the
with
cars.
her car or your
yeah,
car?
I race with her car most of the time because I have just nothing but
It's
fast
good enough,
cars.
yeah.
So what doesn't make sense to me about that whole thing is one, the cars they drive like I said, they drive like crap. First of all, so having even racing parts in this game, just like you don't need it because your cars drive horrible. Secondly, I don't get the shooting and driving thing because the shooting seems to do nothing. Here's an example too, as kind of how fixed the races are in a way. I was racing one race and I launched and you're out in the nomad area, the big wastelands. And yeah, it's one of the second or third race. I can't remember which one because you can kind of do them in any order. But I jumped off this side or something like that, and I wedged my truck in between a rock and like the ground, and it was stuck there for a good probably, I don't know, close to probably like 2 or 3 minutes. It was stuck there. I finally got the car out, and I was like, well, I lost this race. Drove up the street a little bit where you drive up the gravel path and it goes to street. All the cars were right there, waiting for me. I ended up finishing first.
Yep.
They would have already been done by then.
Yeah, the game has the racing thing specifically is I don't know if it's a bug or it's an intentional that you have to place because I ran into something similar where I was way ahead of the pack, and I mean when I say way ahead of the pack, I couldn't see them anymore in the back, and somehow the game did a hiccup and I was in fourth place and they were 3 in front of me. And I was like, are you kidding me? It did that to me on the first race and the third race because I was just lapping. I was just way. I mean, I was on on the first one, I was on checkpoint 26 and they were they were way back there. And then just 3 cars spawned in front of me, literally dropped out of the sky in front of me. And I'm like, this is freaking stupid.
To make the map during the race, you'll see them spawning in behind you.
Yeah.
Because they'll just pop in. They'll just be popping up the map instead of blowing behind you. Yeah.
It's pretty stupid. And it's all because they don't have the proper AI in the game. So the AI, they probably built stupid AI that's too busy attacking each other instead of all of them just trying to attack you, which is what they should be doing.
Well, the first thing I thought of when I got into a car in this game was Mafia. When we did our review for the Mafia remake, my first thought was, oh my God, Patrick is losing his crap right now.
Luckily,
the driving
motorcycles
is
drive
so
better.
bad.
The motorcycles drive. The motorcycles in this game are super easy. They remind me of the old toy we had in the 90s where the motorcycle that you couldn't knock over. He was on a motorcycle. It's on a gyro. You could run that sucker into the wall and stuff. That's how I feel on the motorcycle in this game. I ran into stuff, jumped off stuff, and the motorcycle is indestructible. I have jumped the motorcycle off the top of the freeway and landed back on the ground without damage or anything and just took off driving. The motorcycle will drive on water. I don't know if you know that.
No, I did.
It's stupid. It will drive on water. But it's so stupid the way that it works. But if you jump off of that overpass and you land on your legs, you will die. But if you drive a motorcycle off of it, that motorcycle will drive away just fine, like nothing happened.
I died one time jumping over a bag of trash.
Yes, I got electrocuted somehow jumping off the roof of a building onto a box. I don't know what happened, but I was full health, jumped off the building, was getting electrocuted and died. I was like, what? But that just attests to all the weird bugs in the game. Some of the stuff just doesn't make sense. It's not explained, or there's just all out glitchy bugs. So if you haven't bought it, I would wait. I don't know how long to wait, to be honest with you. There's a lot of bugs in there, and I'm not sure they can fix it in a 3-month span.
I would give it June next year. Really, I mean, that's a good fair time for them to come and fix these issues.
And I really want to beat it. I'm really interested in the main story, and You know,
And
I don't want to spoil any of it, but the game, if the end of the game is anywhere as good as the side missions for the companions, I don't know if you can call them companions, but they're cohorts, they're friends in the game.
Mhm.
They're awesome. I mean, every one of them are done. The one that I hated the worst so far was Rivers, and just because Rivers like a crying crybaby, you know, a little whiny crybaby. But you know, like Judy's and Pan Am's, their story was freaking awesome. You know, and I don't know, Nick, did you romance Judy?
I haven't finished her storyline yet, but
The pyramid storyline with her, awesome. Pretty, I like that one. That was a pretty awesome storyline if you get to it.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah, I'm working on it.
but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great concept for a game, and I like the world they built, but it's just too busted. Enemies are sometimes bullet sponges. They can hit you from halfway across the map. They can see you from like all the way across the map. As soon as you enter their combat zone, they're like all looking for you, and you're just like, come on, let's be realistic. So the AI in this game sucks, needs fixed. Driving needs fixed. Quest dialogues need fixed. A lot needs fixed, in my opinion. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it or not. We're starting a new game here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to come back to this one anytime soon. I don't know. Nick, you beat it. You beat it on the bad ending. Are
I
you going to
did.
try to finish it on the good ending? Are you going to come back to it later? You think?
That's one thing I'm trying. And I probably will come back to it. I mean, that's one thing that unless you know, because this game really, you know, fair warning for anybody playing this game, like a lot of games, they have their main scenario that plays out, and then you have your side quests, right? And regardless if you complete your side quests or not, the main scenario still plays out. I knew this game had different endings, but I didn't know that I didn't know that there was such particular ways to get these endings. Like I thought it was more of like a what choices you make at the end type thing, 'cause is really what I thought it was. But just fair warning for anyone, you know, and try to avoid spoilers. But one thing you want to do is kind of read ahead on how to get the various endings. Like I think there's like 5 different endings, and so if you read ahead on some of the sites out there, they will and a lot of them do a pretty good job without spoiling things. They will tell you what you need to achieve to get whatever ending you're trying to get. So, because it's not necessarily about finishing every single side quest, which that is a large part of it. But depending on what you want, you have to do certain side quests or make certain decisions to get the ending that you want to get. So yeah, so you really, and that's thing that kind of sucks about the game in that sense is where you really have to kind of read a guide to figure out what ending do I want. You know, it's not just like, oh, this is how, you know, it's not like those games where at the end you kind of make that choice and that choice determines the ending. It's really like which is kind of bad and kind of good. You know, what you make along the way, and that's pretty cool. But in the same sense, if you're looking for a particular ending, there are certain routes you have to go, and if you don't go those routes, then you know you're screwed with getting that ending. I went with the route of just finishing the main storyline. I still did a lot of the side quests and stuff, but I was like, well, I'm just going to, because I knew I had read ahead that you could play after the game finished. So I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'll just finish up the story real quick, and then I'll just do these side quests and stuff. Well, because I didn't finish a lot of the side quests and a lot of the side stories and stuff with the other people you meet, I got probably the worst ending you can get in the game.
Well,
So,
it's a typical game like that though. You got to think of it as like, and this is why I like games like this. I have not read about any of the endings and don't want to know about the ending because I play these games from a perspective of what I do in the situation. That's why I play these games. I don't want to see what other people have done, but I don't bum rush the story. I do all the side stuff. That's kind of why I like BioWare games. You know, I like Mass Effect series because it's all about choices and things you do in the game. You know, think about like in the beginning of the Mass Effect series where you have to send all your companions to run parts of the last mission. And if you send the wrong companion or you don't work with that companion and go through their storyline, they'll die, you know? And I'm just like, so, games like that I immerse myself in because I'm like, okay, I want to get this companion. Like, I want to figure out what's going on with this companion and do their storyline, because their storylines are sometimes as important and as fun as the main storyline, is sometimes not better. Right now, I can tell you right now in this game, I think Judy's storyline at Pan Am's is probably the best, in my opinion, of the game. It's even better than the main storyline, So
a lot of the side quests in this game are, I would say pretty much every side quest in this game is better than the main storyline. The main storyline is not that, even beating it, getting the worst ending. You do play through, I mean, that's at the very end of the game. It warns you, like, hey, this is the end, right? So before you can do it, like, it lets you know, like, hey, before you do this is the end. Having finished it all up and knowing, of course, that ending scene could be different depending on what you do, but from the story starting to finish, to that point, it's a very lackluster story. It's really the side quests and the side stories of this game that really shine. Those are the best parts, I think, personally.
Interesting, huh? That's I'm a little disappointed to hear that, to be honest, because I did a bunch of.
I like
side
where
stuff.
the story's going. I mean,
I don't want to spoil anything, but
yeah.
It's just like, I mean, that's just how I feel. I mean, once you guys beat it, or if you do finish it, or if you do want to know how things work out, just let me know. But I won't spoil it on here or anything.
Yeah. But the bad thing about it too is the way that the game breaks up the side quests is weird, because you have I don't even think they call them side quests. They call them side missions, and then you have gigs, and then you have all this other stuff, and it's just all it's a convoluted mess. Inventory management in this game is pretty atrocious.
Exactly.
One of the big things that drove me nuts, Nick, and I don't know about you, but the shards. The shards are so not manageable after you played the game for 30 or 40 hours. It tells you, you're investigating an area and you pick up a shard, and it's like, you got to go back and read this shard. And I'm like, oh my God, it's at the bottom of this hundreds of shards.
Yeah, and they're hard to pick up too, because especially because they'll put a shard by like a whole bunch of items, and then it won't target the shard. You have to like pick up everything around it, and then you can get the shard. Or what I hate too is sometimes they'll put a shard right next to an NPC, and it's almost impossible to pick up because it just wants you to talk to them the whole time.
Right. So in those conversations, I usually talk to the NPC, finish it up, and then I bounce around hammering the X button, trying to pick it up, and just random conversations.
I'm just hoping, like, one of the times I'm not going to talk to them, I'm actually going to pick the shard up. So yeah, I mean that stuff happens a lot with those shards, and with the I don't like. Well, I mean, go back to inventory management. Yeah, inventory management is pretty all over the place. When you find an item on the ground, it's kind of hard. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell if it's better than what you have on.
Yeah, there's no item. There's like no item comparison.
Right, exactly. I mean, they do show like sometimes, and I don't know if this is a bug or if it's broken, but there have been times where I've looked at a piece of armor on the ground and it says that it shows the red, like, 58 and down. So it's saying like it's worse than what I have on. But when I pick it up, it's actually better than what I have on. Armor wise. Now, is it better in components and stuff like an overall? Maybe not, right? But as far as armor rating, and that's the only thing it rates it against, it seems, is armor rating.
Right. Yeah, they're not the stats. So stats are kind of weird anyway, because you can buy all mods, because the stats are all from the mods.
The stats seem to be jacked up too. You ever gone to the stats menu?
Yes.
Like everything is 0, pretty much. And I'm like almost the same level as you are, and like all my stats are all zeros except for like 2 of them. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. And what gets to me is there needs to be a better way of the armor management and stuff, because I am fully versed in crafting on my character, and I regret that I picked up, because I'm like level 13 on the crafting engineering side. I put 13 points into it. That's how 13 or 14, and it gets no better. I'm like, okay, I got to at some point be able to craft or upgrade the stuff. So the way that armor works in this game is armor is clothing. And, you find an outfit that you're like, this is cool. I like the way this looks. But it's pointless to upgrade it because it costs so much materials to upgrade it that oftentimes you'll find like this awesome purple or orange item, and you'll wear it for like 2 or 3 levels, and you'll pick up a white that has like twice as much armor on it, but no slots. And you're like, are you kidding me? I have no this thing is like twice as good, and when I talk twice, I'm saying it's like 47 armor on one and 107 on the other. and you'll be like, wow, this thing's like way more armor. So when I get shot, it'll help me. But it has no armor. It has no attachment slots for things like dodge and stuff like that. So their armor system is pretty jacked up.
It is, and I wish they had like a transmog system or something like that where you can like basically put the look of a clothing item on top of something that you like. Because like some of the like right now, like my lady looks pretty cool. She has these kind of military pants on, this like military vest, but her hat is a big fuzzy like rabbit ear looking thing. It's all bright pink. It's got like eyes on it. It's like a little character, like fuzzy character that sits on top of my head.
You look like what is it? Is it Lisa or what? Or what's the girl's name from Bob's Burgers?
Yes, yeah. I can't remember her name, but yeah, it looks like that hat is basically what I'm wearing. So I'm like all military geared out, and then I have a pink fluffy ear hat on because it's better, because it has a bunch of armor slots and it has high armor. I think it's like an epic or a legendary, but it's like, and then the rest of me looks cool. And then you pick up other items. Like I have some other clothing, and again, this other clothing I have is kind of story centric and stuff like that. Or well, it's not really story, but like side mission centric that you get. And I would love to wear it.
So you bought the samurai set from the record guy?
No, if you do Johnny's quest line, you get all those items. You get like the samurai jacket and everything like that, and some.
You
other
also
stuff.
buy them early on in the game, and that's what I did.
Yeah, you get it all from his storyline quest that you do with his old bandmates and stuff. But anyway, that all looks really cool, but it's got no armor slots, and it's got decent armor, but no armor slots or anything. So even though it looks cool, it's useless.
Right, if you want stats, which is like bleed.
Right, if you want stats. If you want to look cool, hey, wear it. But if you want stats that are going to protect you, don't wear it. Yeah, so that's why I wish I could just put it on top of my outfits,
And what I also don't like is there's no hiding of head slot items, what kind of RPG does that? You can't hide a head slot. Like you get the bunny ears. I got on this freaking cowboy hat and this weird looking respirator mask, and I'm like, I wish I could just hide that crap. You can't hide helm slot items in this game.
Yeah, head slot items you can't hide. Yeah, because for the longest time I had a fedora, which I hated because it would make my girl's hair, which was straight, it would turn it into a perm.
Right.
So
all the hats, if you have long hair. Yeah, all the hats, if you have long hair, will go into the same shape regardless of what you had when you put it on. Like the fedora always does the side part. If you do the newsboy hat, it side parts it and straightens it out the back, and you're just like, oh, this is kind of weird looking.
Yeah, I don't like that. Like I always wanted it to be the hair I picked, and I picked it for a reason, not so I could put a helmet on that would change it or a hat on that would change it.
Well, it's not like you can see it anyway. You were bald half the time when you looked in the mirror or anything. So.
Well, it's true, and then your shadow's bald too and doing weird stuff. But
have you guys seen Have you guys seen the videos of the weird third person bug when people get stuck in third person and the character's just all weird blobby movement? They look like a mutant.
Yeah, it looks like that stupid dance you see like on TikTok or something when they walk. It's freaking weird.
Well, if you ever look at your character when they run, if you get the shadow, they shadow does that too, like the weird little arms crossing each other. They like they're running like they're yeah. They're like a circus sideshow.
Yeah. So this game does have a lot of bugs. I mean, a ton of bugs. I mean, there's several instances I'm sure we can all talk about. I mean, one time I drove my motorcycle. I was driving it into the pile of trash that's out in the Badlands area.
Oh my God.
And then it got stuck in the air and I fell off the bike and it was still up in the air. I said, luckily I got it down.
The trash is the biggest garbage thing. Is a big weird thing too. Like when you have to go get the Delamain cab out in the middle of the freaking junkyard, I drove my car out there and you would swear I was running over boulders in that car trying to go around that trash. I'm like, it's trash, guys. I mean, who throws rocks? Who throws giant garbage bag sized rocks out in the landfill?
Who throws a shoe? Really?
All right. Yeah. So it's got lots of issues, and I'm not sure their engine can overcome these issues, but we'll see. Time will tell. I mean, they did make a butt ton of money on this game, and they still have a butt ton of money. So
we'll see what happens. Butt ton of money need to go to fixing it.
Yeah, they need to start now focusing on fixing the issues. They have slowly but surely. I mean, everybody was complaining because when the game first came out, and Russ had mentioned this when we were talking about the game early on, that he was just so tired of turning every corner and there was dildos falling out of every drawer and door that you opened in the game. And now they seem to have fixed that. They said it was a bug. I'm not sure it was a bug.
It wasn't a bug.
I'm pretty sure it was intentional until he realized the big outcry of it. Because I mean, you couldn't run around a street corner without seeing just used dildos and condoms just everywhere in the game. And now they've been replaced with playing cards.
It was one of the
developer.
Yeah, that's what I was working overtime. Having to work overtime. They're like, screw it.
I'm gonna F you.
Right, and all that stuff was like what they consider garbage loot. You know, you get it to sell, or you get it to disassemble for materials. So now they've been replaced with just playing cards. You just find so much playing cards everywhere that disassembles and turns into materials for crafting.
So gambling or sex toys. Awesome.
You know, the last thing I will say on this game, because obviously I haven't said too much because you guys have probably twice as much playing the game because you guys have more patience than I do with it. But if somebody said, Russell, what would you say about this game? What would you suggest? So one night I was about 6-7 hours into the game. After about the fourth attempt of calling my car, where the car had launched itself into two other cars or on top of another car or flipped over another car, I turned it off. I downloaded Iconfell just so I could get my Xbox reward points. That's what I did that night instead of playing Cyberpunk.
Well, I mean, I did something similar. I got so fed up, I downloaded an EA Fight Night game so I can get some quests done, and get some achievements for my stuff because I was so tired of this game.
For those that don't know Iconfell is a old 8-bit kind of like 2D. Those that don't know Russ knows that he does not play games like that very often, if ever, and that's how desperate that night was.
Yeah. So I think all to say is, I mean, I had high hopes for the game. I don't know what they can do to repair the damaged relationship besides fixing the game, but at that point I'm not sure I'm going to come back to the game. I really want to beat it, but I'm at my wit's end kind of with the bugs. I don't know. It's silly, stupid things that get to me, like the conversation thing or sound effects in the game. Like, have you guys noticed there's no sound effects like opening and closing a car door?
I noticed that too.
It's quiet. You open the door, there's no noise. You close the door, there's no noise. It's just stupid stuff like that you're just like, huh?
Future, man.
That's
I
right.
don't care.
Everything's
metal on metal makes noise.
Not in the future, it doesn't.
Right.
No, everything's got lube. That's why there were so many dildos around.
And one of the coolest aspects of the game, in my opinion, was patched out of it. The entering the brain dance thing was awesome. The light show that you got entering the brain dance was so freaking cool. But because of the seizure-inducing bright lights, they patched it out of the game. I wish they would have made it a toggle. Do you have seizures by looking at this stuff? Yes, let's toggle this off. Instead, they basically just gave everybody the stupid little blurry fade in and out thing. I like the nice little cool light show. I mean, it lit my basement up like the 4th of July down here. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then as soon as the patch came out, I'm like, oh, this is lame.
Yeah,
the brain dances are...
Drop some acid.
The brain dances are bugged as all get out, too. There's a bunch of times where you can't find like one of the items, not part of the main portion, but there's always something in a brain dance that's not like story specific. So there's like little clues and hints and stuff in brain dances. And a lot of times you'll go in and you'll be like, hey, where is this? I mean, there's a couple of them where I know they're bugs because I went into Google it. I'm like, I'm getting everything out of this one. And there's a giant yellow bar that tells me there's a visual cue here and I'm looking for it and can't find it. Go online and find out it's a bug. It can't be found. And I'm like, great. Thanks, guys. Another thing of wasting an hour of my time trying to find this. Fix your game, guys. Tired of it.
Yeah. And matter of fact, fix your morals. Stand up to your higher ups. They're going to force you to release something that's broke.
They already did. They're the Megacorp now.
Yeah.
Got to fight the Megacorp.
Exactly. Now we know where all the dildos
maybe this is the whole plan.
Yeah. They're starting the revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. I think that we had probably beat this horse a few too many times already. But like I said, I had high hopes. Wish it was better. Not sure if I'll be able to beat it or not because I'm already annoyed with it. But we'll see what happens.
No. Let's say we set a clock, come back to it in 3 months, and see what they've done.
Yeah, well, who knows what we'll be playing by then. Hopefully we'll all have PS5s and playing Miles Morales by then.
I've heard about the
in
PS5.
3 months. I hope so.
Well, I don't know if you guys have paid enough attention. According to Sony and them, they're looking at March before they'll have a major restock available. So and especially now that everybody's going to get flushed with cash from the the stimulus. Everybody has an extra $600. They're going to be paying those scalpers those thousands of dollars they asked for consoles because people are flushed with the cash now. I will not be doing it. I will be waiting to get one, but
Yep.
we're trying.
And if you buy one from a scalper, you should slap yourself in the face.
Cool. Well, anybody else want to bring up anything else about this game? I'm sure that we can browbeat the bugs to death in this game, but I don't want to harp on it anymore because I really want it to be good. I want it to be better.
No, I mean for me, yeah, it is very buggy. But the bugs aside, I do like what they have here, and I do enjoy the games when it's not buggy. I enjoy the world and the quests and the combat and stuff, and the stat building and everything. So it has all the foundation that I want, and hopefully if they get all the bugs and everything worked out and everything kind of pristine at some point, hopefully sooner than later. I'm sure this will definitely be a game I'll probably end up playing again, or finishing out, I should say. Probably not starting over, but finishing out and getting all the side stories and stuff like that completed. So, for all those that may be listening, if you're on the fence with this game, if you are on the fence with this game, I would probably wait, give it a few months, and then maybe pick it up. And maybe even by that time it'll be on sale and you can pick it up for cheaper, which would be great. And they should have some more patches out which will fix a lot of the bugs and issues they have, hopefully. But yeah, that's what I would recommend for right now. Just wait on it.
Yep, agreed.
Don't ever release something this broke ever again. That's all I can say.
The Eichenfeld reward is easy to get.
Fill your time with something other than this right now. I'm probably going to beat my head on it a little bit more. I don't know. But the next game is quite lengthy too, I think. So I need to get started in that one to get a good chunk into it. So, if nobody else has got anything else, we appreciate everybody listening to this episode, and we hope to catch you guys in the next one.